Welcome to another episode of Life is About More Than Living. Tonight's episode is entitled A Father's Last Walk with His Son. Conversation with Barry Adkins. Um, those of us who are parents, we have this love for our kids, and we want only the best for our children. And many of us who will catch this live or even in replay have sent our children off to college, or they may be at college, or maybe they're on their own for the very first time. We want the best for them, we want them to make the best decisions. And we hope that we never receive that call that may get something like this. Mr. or Miss, we represent so and so agency. Your child is so and so, so and so. We're calling you to inform you that your heart, you pause, your heart stops almost as you begin to process or process of that. Tonight's story is a story I hope you will share with others. If you've lived it in some aspect, think by the grace of God you're still here. You can hold your children, talk to your adult children. If not, make sure this episode is shared. A Father's Last Walk. This show, I must skip the infomercial part and just bring Barry on. Let him share his story. Welcome to Life is About More Than Living, Mr. Barry Akins. Atkins, excuse me. I appreciate you taking time to come up here and share your story.
Well, thank you for having me on the show, Alfred. I appreciate
You're
it.
welcome. You're welcome. And the off-camera thing I dismissed with the advertisement of my sponsor and all that, and went straight to what if you received that phone call one day, and at the end of that, there's a message you are dreaded hearing as a parent, and that's how I left it. So you can bring your story onto our show. It's your
I'm
time,
happy to
sir.
tell it. So you want me to go ahead and
Go ahead,
tell
do
the
your
story?
thing. It's your time. However you choose, whatever you want to
So
share.
I will. I'm going to pick this story up when he graduated from high school. We'll go from there. So he had just graduated from high school, and I remember going to his high school graduation ceremony, and high school was a struggle for him. For my son, I remember him giving me a hug and whispering, "Thanks for not giving up on me, Dad." So he gets out of high school, gets a job making good money. He met my financial requirements, so I agreed to co-sign a loan because he wanted to buy a new truck, right? Of course, kids always want to buy a new truck or a new vehicle of some kind. And I'm hoping he'd find one from a private party, and I'd go down to the credit union, I'd sign papers, be out of there in 5 minutes or so, right? He found one at a dealership. And if your audience has anyone working at the dealership, I apologize, but I have a healthy dislike for that process. Because I know when I walk in there, they're going to try to sell me a bunch of stuff I don't want or need. I got to go down and sign papers. I sit down in the financial guy's office. The first thing that guy said to me was, "How about some life insurance?" I'm like, "Look, dude, I don't need any life insurance. My wife will do just fine if something happens to me." And he said, "I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about your son. I'm that guy. I'm that guy who rather indignantly told him that 18-year-old boys don't need life insurance because they don't die. But I was wrong. They do die. He wouldn't live long enough to make a single payment on that truck." So he's 18 years old and he's got a new truck. He's graduated from high school. What's the next thing he wants to do? He wants to move out because he's tired of the old man telling him what to do. Because I made him do all those terrible things like come in and wake me up when you get home. Maybe go in the bathroom and get your socks and underwear out of there for me. He was tired of all that. And he came into our living room one day, and we have this brown chair that sits in front of a big picture window. It looks out over our backyard. And he started talking about how he couldn't believe his life was finally beginning and he wanted to move out. And to be honest, I tried to discourage him because he was the baby of the family. And honestly, we really never had any problems with him. His high school principal didn't even know who he was. And I considered that a good thing. But I didn't have any luck talking him out of it. So a couple weeks later, his buddy Craig came over and they started the process of moving him out. He's 18 years old. He threw a bed, a TV, and a dresser in the back of his truck. That was his definition of moving out for the day. But I remember him coming into our living room and he said he wasn't going to take his toothbrush with him. He'd be back tomorrow morning and grab it. I walked out front with him like I normally do, gave him a hug, told him that I loved him and to be careful, watched him drive away. It was the last time I saw him alive. That night, his friends decided to throw a little housewarming party for him. Started with a keg of beer, moved on to shots. He left a voicemail for his sister that night talking about how much fun they were having, how much drinking they were doing. They're having a good time. Shortly after that voicemail, he passed out. And these people at the party laid him in his bed on his side in case he vomited. But the party was still going on. They actually went in and shaved his head and his legs while he was passed out because he's just passed out, right? But his buddy Craig was worried about him, kept going back in to check on him. Around 4 a.m., calls started coming into 911. First calls were difficulty breathing. Next calls were not breathing. My son died alone in a hospital while I slept peacefully in my bed. The next morning was Sunday morning. My wife and I are sitting around drinking coffee, talking about what we're going to do or not do that day. At about 8:30 in the morning, the doorbell rings. And we're looking at each other because we weren't expecting company. And I open the door and I see two police officers and somebody in plain clothes at my front door. Should have been a big red flag, right? It should have been. But I'm that guy. It didn't even occur to me that something bad had happened. I actually joked with them as they came in, thinking this had to have something to do with a dog or a parked car. I had nothing, man. They didn't laugh at any of my jokes. One of the officers and the person in plain clothes stayed by the front door. The other officer walked in and stood in front of that brown chair that Kevin had sat in 2 weeks before and talked about how his life was finally beginning. He said there'd been an accident. Your son is dead. We have a number of children, so we asked who. They said it was Kevin, and they handed me his driver's license. There's something pretty final about it when a police officer hands you your child's driver's license, because until that exact moment in time, you're holding out hope. You're holding out a hope that this is all a big mistake. You've misspelled the last name. Get out of here. You need to be 3 streets over, or at least next door, right? Any place but my place. But when they hand you your child's driver's license, you know he's gone and he's never coming back.
I, see, um, this is your show. My name's on the show. This is your night. Um, it's so
So there's,
it's hitting me. It's
go
hitting
ahead.
me this way. It's hitting me this way because it's taking me back to when I first started this podcast. 7 years and two. September 18th was the 7 year anniversary of this podcast, and I've kind of neglected it a lot. But in the early days, I had a chance to sit down with a gentleman who hit me and made me be quiet like you just did. He wrote a book. You did a walk, which we're gonna talk about later. He wrote a book. He met this lady in stage 4 breast cancer. She's taught him how to live. his 50s, and he said she danced her way out. We
Wow.
talked almost an hour and a half because she was a ballroom dancer. She was in physical fitness, and she kept on going to the day she died. And I was in tears that day. And I was wondering what was I getting myself into doing a podcast. And now, 7 years out, you bring another personal story. It's going to reach even more people.
You know,
Thus, I need to put that word in there also as well. As you speak, I'm gonna type one more word into the thing, which is parents, because somehow I forgot to put that keyword parents into the thing. Uh, no, I got it. I got it. Their father's story. But uh,
so let's be clear.
I've been telling an alternate version of your story because in my mind, he was at college when he did that
Yeah.
binge drinking. But the point is that this is a place of disbelief. And I have two sons myself.
Yep.
And hang
Nobody
on, Michael,
barely
go ahead,
believes it's
sir.
going to happen to him, right? I mean, I don't know about you, but when I say I'm that guy,
No,
I just never.
yeah, yeah, because I now, thankfully, my grandkids are small, like 8 and 5, but there's still that possibility we are living longer in this day and time.
Yeah.
But for now, for you, uh, whomever you are that catches this, wherever you are, you don't have to be a parent. You don't have to be a father, a mother. You don't even have, you could be an aunt, an uncle, a cousin. If you are whoever you are, please pay more. Please dive into what this gentleman is saying. If you have a similar life experience, please leave it in the comments. Um, because this is, I don't even know. Go ahead, sir.
So I was angry with God, Alfred.
Mm-hmm.
I I'll just say it. I was pissed because
Mm-hmm.
I didn't understand why a good God would take my son and let me live. And I tried to bargain with him, right? I said, "Hey, look,
Mm-hmm.
you're God. Back up time.
Mm-hmm.
Take me. Let
Mm-hmm.
him live." And that's not. I don't think that's an unusual thing for a
No,
parent
because
to think.
parents are not supposed to be burying our children. For those of us of our generation, that's how we believed. In
Right.
our time period, our children will bury us.
Yes. And so I was angry with him. A couple days later, I had another life changing event. I'm
Mm.
going to do my best to describe this. I didn't talk about it for about 15 years, but I do now.
Wow.
And here's the deal. I was laying in bed. It was a couple days after Kevin had passed away. Um, it was about 4 o'clock in the morning. And I was awake and I felt like somebody had walked in the room. I'm going to do my best to describe this. Um, and then there was a light I had never seen before and haven't seen since. And there was a message. The message was that Kevin didn't suffer and something very good would come from this. And then it was gone. There was no, I remember thinking, wait, hold on. This isn't, wait, what does that mean? Why, why God chose me for this message? I have no earthly idea. There's a lot of, there's plenty of Christians out there that are better Christians than I am.
Well,
Um,
see, that's where I'm going to have to step in. I
yeah.
don't believe there's better or worse Christians. I believe, I believe, and I believe, and I go back, and I'm going to go heavily into it because this is not a show where I could go with this. What I believe is that God, in His ultimate wisdom, or however you perceive God to be, all of us are born with some internal purpose. We got two choices when that purpose shows up to accept it and walk in it in all faith that we have, or to push against it. I am one who pushes against it a lot. It's like, hey, and I'm like, no,
No, no. And
but
yeah.
because there are people more eloquent, there are more people more trained, there are more people more this, they have better talents. But if you get back to the biblical aspect of this, which I agreed to off camera talk about, it's written in the text. I can't remember exactly where, but he said the least of these. And if you want to look historically at those who were chosen, according to the historical record, by Jesus, they were ordinary people that you would never expect to become eloquent speakers. There's only one eloquent speaker in the bunch, well, actually two, Luke and Paul, who had the wisdom to go back and forth between name changes. If he's in Rome, he was Saul. If he was in Greece, he
Yes.
was Paul. So everybody else were just like you and I. You got me. You gave me
Yeah.
what?
Wait,
I'm going to
what?
do what? Yeah,
Exactly. I look at that and think, man, there's a lot more people out there that are qualified to do this
yeah,
than I am. But he doesn't choose the qualified; he qualifies the chosen.
chosen, and that goes. I'm gonna try, and that goes like my guest last night, which I know probably certain people will take it a certain kind of way. For at home, that if someone tells you they got a message from God, she's like I believe. First, you can test it out, but basically you should ignore it because if God's really got a message for you, He's gonna make sure you get it to you in you. In your case, it was like the light in the writing. Okay,
Yeah.
in my family bloodline, a lot of crazy stuff happened, and I've shared a podcast, and some people bring it back to my attention. But my grandfather, who died approximately 2 years, I was told, when I was born, because of some of the things that were happening during that time period in my home that I learned about as an adult. He was a he. We grew up in coastal. I grew up in coastal town in North Carolina. So he, my namesake Alfred, he was named Alfred as well. They say he got in his rowboat and he'd be fishing in his rowboat in the local river and all of this. And then after his passing, when things were kind of tumultuous in the home, from what my aunts had told me, at sunset you would see this image of a man and a boat on the side of the house, and people on the street could see that image. And my mother said that was him protecting them. So when you share your story, this is the perfect place for it because God shows up. I- Tell it again, please. How he showed up for you and your message. You said the light came and what? Tell your story.
So
Again,
it's and the thing about the light was I can't describe it, right? It was just this beautiful, spectacular light. And obviously, I didn't hear a voice,
right.
right? But I knew what the message was. And
But that's
that's
the thing
why I
too.
didn't talk. That's the difficult part about telling the story because people envision you hearing a voice.
Well, let me say it.
There's no voice. There was no
I'm
voice.
yes, I'm agree with you 100%. And that's gonna piss off and bother a lot of good, diehard theological Christian church going folks. The so-called voice is sometimes that internal thing speaking to you, but the physical manifestation can still be there, whether it's a
Yeah.
light, whether it's a man in a boat, but you
Yeah.
know it's God talking.
There's no doubt. Uh, from my perspective, again, it's fun to talk about this. Um, I thought it was Kevin,
Well, in a
right?
sense, it could be.
Right?
Remember, I'm gonna be kind of theological on this one, okay? Because it's been tested out for all types of religions, and Christianity is one that brings a lot of things into it. Who knows? It wasn't. In my case, I'm gonna use my own example. So I'm gonna let you go ahead and talk as much as you need to talk. There's been moments when I have felt my mother's presence, and I have reached out to other spiritualists who not just do practice Christianity, but across the board, bring it all in the cycle that God chooses, however, to reach us. And they were
However,
like,
he thinks it'll work.
work. So they were like, don't deny that it could be her manifesting what God needs you to get, because she's gone, or it could be some however He chooses. But you feel it, that closeness that you would feel if she was there,
You
because
know
that's
it.
the only way you will receive it.
You know it.
Yeah.
And that's the
So I put my
thing
name,
is,
I put my mother's name on it. So it could be Kevin.
yeah, yeah,
But
there's
anyway,
no doubt. There's no doubt about it. And I don't, I tell everyone it isn't that it made everything okay, because it
mm,
didn't.
mm-hmm,
But it gave me a mission,
mm,
right? To figure out what something very good is. And I don't think, and I've been told, this thing has happened, that's things happened, these are good things, but I don't know if it's the something very good. And I believe that it's my mission to chase it the rest of my life. I That's what I believe.
mm-hmm,
I remember going to pick up his ashes, and you walk into a funeral home and there's pictures on the wall and they're playing nice music in the background, and they took me in to an office and set me down in this big comfortable chair, and a funeral director walked in, set an urn down in front of me. It was an urn that held all that remained of the child that I burped, changed his
mm,
diapers. I coached baseball, basketball, soccer, football,
mm,
taught him to shoot a gun, swing a golf club.
mm,
All the remains of him were sitting in an urn in front of me.
mm.
There's one thing I knew at that point, and that was that I didn't want to be a victim, because the world doesn't need any more victims. We've got plenty already.
Mm-hmm.
The world needs people who take something bad and they make something very good come from it.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought about what I would hope somebody else would do if it happened to their kid. And for me, the answer was pretty easy. It was to get out and tell the story, not
Mm-hmm.
for the money, because there is no money in the world that'll fix the hurt. It does not exist. The only thing that helps is to try to make something good come from
Mm-hmm.
such a senseless tragedy.
Mm-hmm.
So now, right, we got to decide what we're going to do with his ashes.
Mm,
I grew up in Kalispell, Montana. It's up in the northwest corner of the state.
mhm,
We were here in Gilbert, Arizona. Kevin had been there a number of times and always talked about wanting to move there someday and buy a ranch.
mhm,
So we decided to take his ashes to Montana. Not a terribly surprising thing.
mhm.
But I decided to put him in my backpack and walk from Gilbert, Arizona to Kalispell, Montana, and tell the story along the way. Because I
How many
guarantee
miles
you,
for that?
it's about 1,400 miles.
Wow.
Yeah, it took about 4 months. We could probably talk for about another 2 hours about the walk, Alfred.
Yeah, but I want to make sure people get the essence of what you did to help memorialize your son, to help take you to the place you're at now.
I'm stunned that I did
Some
it,
of us,
Alfred. I just
uh,
don't, I look back on it, it's like, good grief, what was I thinking?
no, but I'm glad you, for one, am glad you did it. Because if you hadn't done it, I wouldn't be talking to you now.
That is correct. And that's, as you think about something like that, you're wondering, man, I don't know, this is a big project. I don't know. But a guy, I talked to a lot of people about it. I had friends and family that tried to talk me out of it, understandably
Mhm.
so, because I think they're afraid I was going to fail. It's a fair thing to be
But
concerned about.
failure is sometimes where blessings at, though.
But there was a guy, I talked to him about it. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know, maybe I better wait. And he said something I'll never forget. He said, how do you think you'd feel about it in 5 years if you don't do it?
Mm,
And for me, that sealed the deal, right? It's like, who knows? Lord only knows what 5 years
mhm,
down the road is going to look like. I better do it.
mhm. So is that where you left the ashes at, or did you just do the walk?
Oh, we left the ashes there. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It was, I tell her, if I can come up with something like this, imagine what you can do. I'm not all that creative, right? But I believe it was God driven. And for your audience that's a little bit older, might so people ask me where that idea to walk came from. Well, I think it was God driven, but in my mind, I thought about what Kevin's favorite movie was, and it was a movie. I don't know when it came out. I think it was in the '90s. It was called Lonesome Dove.
Yeah, I
And
remember that movie. I wasn't a big fan of it, but yeah, I remember Listen Dove.
well, it was a different kind of Western, but the
Yeah.
ending of that movie is where I got the idea to do the walk.
Hmm. Wow. Speaking of, okay. Oh, see, you gave me another idea. Keep on talking, sir. You you
So
you just you just you just making this even, as I like say, much more better and better
so
grammar.
I tell this story at schools and stuff, and the first thing, because I'm two generations apart from these kids that I'm in front of. And another thing that happened was I was still doing it, and a fellow speaker, I was talking to him one day, and he goes, "Well, you don't still speak
Hmm.
at schools, do you?" I said, "Yeah, I
Hmm.
do." And he said, "You're too old. You shouldn't
What?
be doing that." That was kind of my reaction. But then
Wait a
later
minute. You're
on,
too old. You shouldn't be
yeah,
doing that.
yeah. And I was offended by
Wow.
it. But then later I thought, you know what? I should just address that right up front.
Hmm.
So the first thing I say is, I'm not here to tell you how to live your life. I'm just here to tell you a story. But maybe as you listen to the story, you should think about what you want your story to be. And that's principals
Yeah.
have said that's the most important thing you said, because it sets the stage, right? That I'm not here to tell you how to live your life. I just want to tell you a story. And
Hmm.
you can just kind of feel everybody go, okay, we're listening.
Hmm. Yeah. I think so. For any of us, one of the greatest regrets we could have is to go to our graves with something that we didn't do.
Yeah.
I can't remember which famous speaker it was that told the story about his according to his mentor, took him to a rest home and dropped him off. He said, "I thought you were supposed to tell me how to become a better speaker, and I came to you to learn how to do X, Y, Z, and you brought me to this place." He said, "Spend the day in there, and I'll pick you back up." And when he picked it back up, he asked him, "What did he learn?" He said, "I heard all these stories of regret. Now, do you want to go your grave with all these stories? Your story in your heart. So
Yeah.
what you want to do is great, but the people you met, a lot of them, they they didn't do it. They're sitting there wishing they had." So
That's exactly
yeah,
my point. It's
yeah.
it's
Uh,
for me, I look back on it, and it's not me. It's
yeah.
it's a God thing, because I'm just not that talented at this stuff.
Hmm.
I've learned to tell a story. I've
Yeah.
told a story probably 400 times. I really don't honestly know how many times I've told it, but
Hmm.
um, I'm blessed to be married to a woman who was willing to give me honest feedback. And she would sit in the back of the class and say, "You lost him with that.
Hmm.
You need to either change it or get rid of it."
Mm.
And getting feedback like that is so important, because
Hmm.
when you write a book, or you get in front of people, and then everybody afterwards is saying, "Man, that was great." Everybody tells you you're great, but we all know that's not true.
Hmm. Yeah.
Right? You need people in your life that'll say, you could do a little better at that, I think.
Hmm.
Right? And that's what you need to do, is surround yourself with people that eh, not be pushy with you, but
This is the area.
direct you.
This is the area I still struggle with in marriage.
Yeah.
But that's so I can agree with you on that part. Uh, seemed like I wouldn't considering my life journey. I think I would have matured to a place where I still struggle with that part of it. Um, now I could go into it, but tonight I'm really being careful not to go into too much of some things about myself, other than the things that relate to what you're saying and what you just said. Uh, I'm working on that quality.
We're all a work in progress.
I'm working on that. I'm working on that quality. I'm working on that quality because really, because my wife, her, I'll say it like this. She tells people she's a rich man's wife. And she said, and like the only one can't see it is me.
Yeah.
She even changed when we got married to where her name comes out in letters. I was with her the whole first year before I realized what she meant by those letters. Her letter spells out Kash. Okay. Cash. And I'm like, what? Does that when I'm like, cash? Remember, I'm the rich man's wife. Cash. Here. Okay, so I'm like, okay, now I can live up to that. But it's not only a good jest, it's what you said, but you brought it in because you put your wife into it in that context, that harsh criticism that we don't see ourselves the way they see us or our potential. Now, hearing you humbling yourself over and over again, I'm not that guy, and this, and it has to be a God thing. Great, it's a God thing. But remember what I think you mentioned a few moments ago. God qualifies the ones he chooses. So
Yeah.
you are qualified.
Yeah.
Just not by our human standards.
Right.
See, you got that right there. I mean, so maybe I'll remember that when we go to the show because it's easy for me to fall back in those spots. Especially,
So
you
there's
know,
three things that I always when I finish with three things, Alfred.
hmm
And the first one's about decision making.
hmm
Obviously, following Jesus, I believe, is number one. But right
hmm
behind that are your decisions about drugs and alcohol.
hmm
The two most important decisions you're ever going to make, apart from following Jesus, are about drugs and alcohol. It isn't even
hmm
close. We all
hmm
know stories.
hmm
You need to educate yourselves about the dangers of drug and alcohol abuse as if your
Yeah,
life and the lives of your children depend upon it. Because it
yeah,
just does, right?
it
It
does.
just does. And the second thing
My,
is about
hmm
adversity.
hmm
Bad stuff happens to everybody, Alfred.
hmm
The way you respond to adversity is going to define your life.
hmm
Notice I didn't say might.
Right. You
It
said
will.
is. Will.
It
Yeah.
will. And third is this thing called forgiveness. The Bible might talk about that a little bit, right?
Mm,
I heard a pastor describe it best once. He said that anger and vengeance lead to one thing: destruction. Forgiveness leads to healing. And sometimes the most important person you need to forgive is yourself.
mm,
We all make mistakes. It's the way you handle it that matters.
mhm. Yeah. Uh, yeah. Yeah. It's just I switch over and I look over at the notes, which is basically your bio, and I come back and I hear and I'm paying attention to what you're saying, and uh, one of it almost makes me want to pick my book up and read a poem that I wrote of my stepfather that I read a certain that I rarely ever bring out, but this is again your time, so what I'm gonna bring out about him is this. I have a biological dad. We probably never ever talk again. I think the last time I heard his voice was over 10 years ago. Uh, I had a sister that passed away whose funeral I could not attend because of things. I chose not to attend that. And I got counseling on whether I should go or not go. But going back to the individual who was my real father, which plays into that thing about love and family not being bloodline. And yes, my mom, there's stories associated with her too, but this individual, I guess, whatever I was, age I was, 17, 18, 19, early 20s maybe, when my mom met this guy. And back then in North Carolina, they considered him a weekend alcoholic. Reason I say they considered him a weekend alcoholic was that he had lost his driver license, and because of that, they put him through the driving classes, but he never could seem to get through to keep his license long enough. So they labeled him as a weekend alcoholic, and that was his drinking methodology. Actually, he would, which I learned from moving in with my mom and him. Howard was his name. Uh, I became his what they call designated driver nowadays. So I would take him to the pool hall. I would take him to the juke joints. But before I took him to all those places, he made sure my mom had all the money she needed for the home. And then he would drink from that day, that moment until Sunday morning. Then he would sober up and go to work and start the cycle all over again.
Everyone has a story, right?
Right. I'm bringing it in because of what you just said about everyone has a story in the sense that I wasn't there when he took his last breath. I have never been to his gravesite, but I remember the phone call I got from his brother. In those days, we had landlines, right? No cell phones. You remember that long
Right.
ago. So they let me know that they found him asleep in bed. I'm like, sleeping? No, he died in bed. The TV was playing. His meal of beer was beside him. And I tell about that in my book poem that I wrote about memorializing in the poem. Is that the reason I brought it up is that you bringing a hard awareness to us about this topic, drugs, alcohol, their impact. We all have a story. And some people are in denials of their stories.
Yep.
Because, they just drank a lot. They just love a good time. They want to do this. Let them go. They'll be all right. But you and I have both lost people. I haven't lost to you the level you lost it, someone. But without awareness, there cannot be another life that possibly could be saved.
Yeah.
And that's another reason I wanted you up here. I wish I could have got you up here sooner. Again, it's a God's timetable. It's God's timetable. So you're here
It
tonight.
always is. That is correct.
Yeah. Uh, I would love for you to, cause but someone has been through this type of tragedy. You're smiling and you got this glow about you. I was expecting you be the person to come up here and bring me to tears tonight, but you keeping me there. Maybe because we both in the same age bracket. We understand a few things alike. Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to, yeah, I keep my head shaking because I don't want to see gray hair out there. Yeah. But when it comes back to this, please, if you have it within your spirit and your power to do so, if I was one of these young people, if you can imagine such, and you giving her your spiel that came up to you after it was all over, what would you say to me one on one?
You mean to my son?
To
Or what do you
me,
mean?
as a regular, you did a show, you spoke before an audience, and hypothetically speaking, I, I was that
Okay.
kid or some other kid came up to you and just was like looking at you, or what would you say to that young person?
Turn off the noise. Turn off the noise and figure out who you are. Because in today's world, there is a lot of noise. And think about things that you can do, because I think everybody has it in them. And I'll give you an example.
Mm,
Um, one of the questions I get asked a lot is, did I ever think about quitting on the walk? The answer to that is no, I did not. But I did wonder what I'd gotten myself into. I was actually not out of Arizona yet. Phoenix or Gilbert's at about 1,300 feet. Flagstaff, which is where I went through, is around 7,500 feet elevation.
Mm-hmm.
I was whipped before I got to
Mm.
Flagstaff.
Mm.
But but I realized that I was thinking about it wrong, because in my head I was thinking about, man, I got 3 more states to go. I'm not even out of Arizona, and I'm trashed, right? Physically, it's
Mm-hmm.
challenging. But I decided to think about it differently. Instead of thinking about 3 more states, I thought about 3 more miles.
Mm.
I'm going to walk 3 more miles. I'm going to take a break, and I'm going to get up and do it again. And it's a great metaphor for life, because you look at things out and you think, I can never get there, right? I don't, yeah, I can't get to Kalispell. It's too far. But can I walk another 3 miles? Yeah. And you walk 3 more miles and you do that a few times. Next thing you know, you're out of the state of Arizona. Oh, I'm out of Utah. I'm in Idaho.
Mm.
But I'm not thinking about all of the miles ahead. I'm thinking about what steps can I take now. And it's a great metaphor for life, I think,
Mm.
because you don't think, oh man, I don't think I could ever get to that point. Well, maybe not, but what can you do to head that way,
Mm-hmm.
right? What are those little baby steps you can take to head that way? Is that making sense?
Yeah. Uh, I I broke down some conversation. Well, like I told you off camera, the line of work I do. Um, the three individuals with me, I was transporting in my transportation business, and one kept going on and on and on and on. So I'm like, so uh, are you a freshman, sophomore? What are you? Well, I'm a freshman. See, then I'm a freshman. I said, okay. So you've been away from home for 3 weeks. You believed everything they told you. So wait a minute, let's back it up a little bit. So when you came out of elementary school, you knew X, Y, Z. But when you got to middle school, you were this person. Then you got to high school, now you're a freshman. So they've to each level they told you different things. You learn different things. So now as a freshman, what I'm sharing with you is not hitting you because you bought into what you were told that you come to school for 4 years, you'll be a millionaire when you come out because you get a degree. And I'm like, young sir, this time period, you have access to something my generation didn't have. You have a cell phone, your laptop, a tablet. Take what you're learning here, but think about how you can turn it into a business and something you really love to do. If we get caught out there doing something different. Well, this blah, 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 blah. I say, you know what? Here, let me say it like this. You've been here 3 weeks away from home. I hope and pray you make it past this semester. Not being negative, but along the way, there's got to be a change for you to get to where you want to go. Blah, blah, blah. I say, I'm done talking. Take it for what you want to take it for. Because along the way, these are steps. And you just admitted that you're not the same as you were when you came out of middle school and high school. So I brought that into the storyline in the sense of what you're saying. Take these things in steps. We are older and we still take steps.
We do.
And if you had quit, you would not be on this show tonight. At least I
Correct.
wouldn't know you. You might be somewhere, but we wouldn't be here together.
Yep.
Um, and and what you've shared, it's a lot. Those who catching this, look at his energy. Look at how he's embraced. In my opinion, you're doing what some of the greatest speakers in the world that I listen to on podcasts and watching YouTube do. You've accepted your story, you accepted your calling, you accepted your destiny, and you learn how to step into it and to walk it out. A destiny birthed in tragedy,
Yeah.
but of the tragedy, I'm going to go in like old school church folks say here in the South. Out of your mess came a message.
Yeah. And um, you said that I smile. So I'm going to comment on grief a little bit because
Hmm.
it's a topic, right? It's
Hmm.
all part of this. Um, for me, the audience needs to remember that this is about 20 years in the rearview mirror for me,
Hmm.
right? And for the longest time, I wanted to feel the way I did before he died, right?
Huh?
Because you want to go back and you want to feel that way again. You want to be back to where everything's normal again. And the reality is you can't go back. The old you died with your loved one. There's a new you there. A new you that can be a better person, or sometimes it doesn't turn out that way. But there's a new you there. You'll never feel that way again. There's a new you there that can be a better person. And I'm probably a living example of that.
And that's really a physical manifestation of Romans chapter 12, verse 2. That I'm going to put into you a new mind, a new heart, new spirit.
Tell me, do you know what? Give it to me.
Romans chapter 12, verse 2. I'm
What
just
is it?
paraphrasing how God will make you over again, a new mind, new
That
heart, new
yes.
spirit.
Okay, yes. People have when I've said that, they've quoted that
Yeah,
Bible verse to me.
yeah,
It's
Romans chapter
totally
12.
true.
Yeah. But in
He
your case, it's a physical manifestation. It's taken a lot of different ways. But for in this case here, it's the way I like to have it taken. And I believe it should be taken this way. Literally in the sense of we've been through some things and God has used those things, or however you choose to believe those things in life has transformed you to another version, the version
yeah,
of yourself for this stage of life,
yeah.
not for the stage that was there, but a whole makeover for where you're at now.
Yeah, I was
Um,
not that guy before.
yeah,
I was a homebody. I just no way would I, get up there and, you know, tell my life story and expose, the worst day of my life. That it's just not.
yeah.
But here I am.
My whole thing, and this is where I'll bring it up because I didn't bring it up earlier. Uh, this is my book. My therapist, and I bring it up. It's a very short poetry collection slash autobiography. Been in therapy for 4 years, longest I ever lasted in therapy. But along the way, she mentioned that one day some memories would get unlocked. My very first Christmas with my wife, my fiance, that was born. So here is I'm with a Christmas girl, and we're not really celebrating Christmas because I'm on my laptop and digging out, getting boxes, writing the assembling stuff because the flood came out. You had your and I bring that back to that making over that where we're at now to share that story that you're sharing, like you're sharing your story. Because now this is going to be in front of a lot of people in Houston, Texas in a few weeks. More people than it's ever been in front of outside of being online. And it came about through the processes of therapy and faith and all of that. And I still struggle with the making over part because that's the area I'm fighting. That this is actually what my wife and others call we have a ministry inside of us.
Yes.
I'm not cool. I'm too cool. I'm not too cool with that word ministry until I
Me
remember what
neither.
actually, but until I remember what it actually means. It doesn't mean what Americanized Christianity calls it to be. It doesn't mean what other religious systems it calls it to be. It simply means that we are servants of others who has a deliver a message. Title's great. You can put it in whatever category you want to, like politics or anything else. A job as a CEO. But at the end of the day, those that Jesus called back then, which is really going back to all of us, and I'm getting kind of preachy right now for a second. We all have a duty. Those of us who recognize their actual callings, I hate what callings. That's what I'm looking for. Those who recognize our responsibility when something presents itself to us from God, uh, however He speaks to us, we have a responsibility to act on it, to
You
be a
do.
minister of it, to take it out there, because all a minister really does is represent someone else. If you want to get down to the layman terms of it, or the political terms or the non-political terms of it, you are a minister sent out on behalf of someone. In this case, you're going out, and I believe your story 100%. I mean, several encounters. God is sending you out to minister to people that will not receive it for someone who looks like me, who tell the story of of their stepdad. They'll receive it from someone who looks like you because you have lost their son. But in the process of losing your son, you gained a whole new makeover. I'm not downplaying what you're saying, but God did a whole new makeover with you.
Oh yeah. It was
And
him.
your son is living through the makeover.
Yeah.
I guess this is part of my word wizardry. My wife tell me like, you're a poet, you know how to use words. But he's done a makeover using your son to make it's your makeover.
Yeah.
So when you're out there speaking, you're really not by yourself. You want to be honest about it. Kevin's there with you.
He
You might not
is.
can see him, you may can touch him, but he's living through you. My
Yeah.
mother lives through me. My stepfather lives through me.
Yeah.
Okay, there was they were some of the most challenged people in life that did some of the worst things sometimes and overcame some of the worst of things.
Yeah.
But I'm their protege.
Yeah.
They gave me hope. They gave me life. They gave me that. They made sure I understood that my voice was alive. And here it is. I'm talking to you, and we reaching who knows how many people. I'll get my update statistics from YouTube, but that don't really matter. Well, one of the guests asked me for numbers one time, so I gave him numbers. But the point was, like, we're gonna reach a lot of people in a lot of places.
Just one is
And
all that
what?
matters, right?
But
It's
yeah, when is all that matters? But here's the thing. Yeah, you know what? You took me back to you took me back to I found it to a nosedive and said I'm gonna join another church. So I joined another church this past Sunday. That's a different whole conversation. But in this particular vein, it was brought to my attention that currently the pastor he comes into the new members orientation. He takes it over, and I had never experienced that real before because I've experienced more of I'm here, you here, I know you, blah blah blah. But but when he came in, he truly did what someone told me he would do. And before I lose my train of thought, he mentioned something that was totally, in my opinion, didn't have nothing to do with the new members class. He's like, I don't do altar calls like every Sunday like a lot of churches do. He says the reason I don't do it is because if God ain't leading me to do an altar call, I ain't gonna do it. If God is leading me to do an altar call, I'll do it. And some churches and pastors, they do it's their choice. They do it every week. But a lot of altar calls are based in emotion, and the people never show up later. I do it in the context that I'm hoping those who actually respond to it have a desire to go beyond the altar call. But if I did it every Sunday, I would get lots of people. But it don't mean that, you know, so and I'm bringing that back in this context of what you're saying. You say you reached the ones. You've
yeah.
done a lot of altar calls in churches and
I guess
synagogues and schools everywhere.
yeah.
But I refuse to believe that you've only reached once. And the
I,
reason I say that is because of the popularity of your website, the places that you've been, the shows you've been on. Uh, you're a game changer, sir. I
thank you.
appreciate you being on my show.
Thank you.
Uh, I, I appreciate your tenacity because I kicked you to the curb the first time. You were like, "Why can't I come on right now?" I'm like, "Not right now, guys." I'm like, "Right now," because I slipped up and started having 3 or 4 people a week, and I'm like, "I ain't getting paid for this yet."
Yeah.
No, and I'm tired because I do everything. I create the content, I do the research, I do the vetting, I do it all right now. But I'm firmly believing it one day, something changed. But going back to this off the show topic, going back to this thing here, I'm gonna let you close it out for us because we've been almost an hour, so this will probably be about 10 short clips created out of this, and I'm gonna do my best to use the best ones. Um, I know you mentioned how you normally close out. This is your time. Take us home. And my dear guests, viewers, subscribers, whoever you are, reach out to this man. Reach out to me. We're available to share our stories. Oh yeah, that's the point I want to bring back up. Before I close out, let you close out. My very first episode, which I challenge people to go back to and find, is entitled "Preconditioned to Fail." My eldest son had major knee surgery done. I watched him put his 18-inch needle in his leg up to the knee to get it prepared for the surgery. Okay. Because then mom wouldn't go back in the back. She's like, I'll be out front. You go in the back. I watched on the camera. They did all this stuff. And yeah. And when it's all over, he was back home. And came with, it's like, tell your story, Dad. I'm like, what am I going to call it? He said, tell what you told me, basically told us. Growing up, you were not given this thing to do what I'm doing now. You were conditioned to fail. No matter how good you were, you'll always be a failure. So call it preconditioned to fail. And I bring
Yeah.
this up to say that your story could have been one where you were preconditioned to fail. You could have taken all of that, and you didn't. Here you are closing out this show. Gonna be on a lot of other shows. I know God can send you there. You can get your door. Hey, can you come on?
Yeah.
uh, I would close this. Take us home. Have you want to take us home? I'm going to take us
So
off camera when you finish talking.
I'll so I get off ask a lot of times, when I tell them what I've done and the story and stuff. Uh, I've had some people say to me, "What's next for you?" And I'm pretty risk averse at this point because I've done the walk to Montana. I wrote a book about it. It's like, does there really have to be a next? And people have said, well, maybe you should do like a yearly little walk or something. And I'm thinking, everybody does a walk, right? I don't know. But I've got this idea mulling around in my head, and I'm going to definitely crowdsource this. But I want to do a walk different than what anybody else has done. And by that, I mean it's more of a challenge. And I'll tell you what the basic premise was that's kind of evolving. But instead of a walk, how about if it's a challenge to walk the distance to Montana in a year? It's a big challenge. But the idea is to get people thinking about um, prevention, drug and alcohol prevention. Do it in memory of a loved one that you lost to drugs or alcohol, or somebody that's in recovery, or someone that's still an addict. But I want it to be something, and it may not end up being 1,400 miles because that's about 4 miles a day. People are telling me that's too many miles, but everyone do it, right? And give them, maybe it'll be a year, maybe it'll be 6 months, but there'll be a number, and do it over the same period of time. So everyone is doing this for someone else, and to raise awareness about the need for more prevention. Because prevention, for me, the rehab industry is $35 billion a year, right? It's a
Mm,
huge industry.
mm,
Prevention is a bunch of people like me doing what I do, and nonprofits and stuff. And I want it to be something different than what other people have done. I don't know what that looks like yet, Alfred, but I'm just going to throw it out there. If you've got thoughts, I'm happy to hear them, but I want to try to come up with something maybe it's not 1,400 miles. Maybe you choose how many miles you're going to walk, but you're
Hmm.
walking it to raise awareness and for that loved one, because everyone, as we have said, everyone's got a story, Alfred.
Yeah. Uh, I'll say it right now. I mean, I would think it would be set a time frame for a walk to be accomplished and give people a choice of choosing the distance.
That's another thing. Yeah.
Let them choose the distance, but say, look, like I hate to make I want to make the comparison to a 5K or 10K. You got the one type of walk. The one I did one in my life, but the ones I appreciate are those events where it doesn't matter whether you finish in 30 minutes or 2 hours, but it's what matters is that you finish. So
Not
give
a
the
race.
yeah
Yeah.
yeah, and that way everybody benefits, uh, and
That's the
everybody
idea.
gets an awareness. So yeah, let's say you got 30 days and you choose the distance, and then if you complete that distance in less than 30 days, give yourself the option to upgrade the distance
Yeah.
and say, hey, I'm gonna do it again for this person. I'm gonna do it again for that person. I'm gonna do it again for that person.
Oh, I
And
like
then it
that.
goes back to what you said earlier. And they look back, their 3 miles became 100.
That's my point.
And that goes back, look at how, this is where I'm like, people, you need to pay for your ideas. But anyway, I will eventually. But that's what I would suggest.
Yeah.
Pick a time frame. Um, this same church that I'm a member of now, October being technically Breast Cancer Month and Domestic Violence Month, they said this upcoming Sunday they're doing something different than most places. They're simply calling Awareness Sunday. So whatever cause you're dealing with or wanting to show support for, you wear that color. Awareness Sunday, because everybody has a story, but everybody's not dealing with cancer. Everybody's not dealing with domestic violence, but everybody's dealing with something. If
Everybody.
it's heart disease, wear red. So this kind of Sunday, it's gonna be a church full of multicolored causes.
That'll be cool.
So like you, this thing your walk, multiple miles, one timeline.
Yeah.
Because
That was something that was brought up to me too,
because
was,
see
given
something like that,
you
I
pick
would
the
probably
miles.
even yeah something like that. I might even jump in and support you on. And like yeah, I'll do 5 miles for the stuff my mother went through, or something
Right.
like that.
That's
Yeah.
the idea. It's kind of a different
Yeah.
concept, right? It's
Well,
not,
when
it's
you
just
decide to
different.
do it, let me know.
Okay.
And
I will do that.
but I'm gonna go back and make sure that you're the final voice. He will be the final voice on this. I'm gonna take him off camera, and then I'm gonna hit the countdown. Take myself off camera, and thank you everyone for catching Life is About More Than Living, a podcast. Please become a subscriber, or at the very least a follower, if you're on a Facebook page, but definitely a subscriber. Um, those you my subscribers on the West Coast and in foreign lands, um, make sure you share this because this topic here, what he went through in his message, it doesn't have boundaries or borders. Every country, every place, someone is being affected by this. Every culture, every religious group, every political affiliation. This is one topic that does not discriminate against anyone. Terry, please take us home one more time. I'm gonna take your camera. I'm sorry, not Terry. My brain is. I'm sorry. See, my brain jumped on the next podcast. Barry, please take us home. And y'all, please. I'm having an old assignment moment. Barry, please take us home one more time. And I'll take you off camera.
So just keep in mind that it's amazing what you can do when you put your mind to it, when you won't take no for an answer. Um, don't be afraid to do that. Listen, to that still small voice. That still small voice that's there, that's going to guide you. Listen for it. Be quiet and listen for it.